Your information station, WTIM.
You're listening to WTIM, your information station, and our morning show brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman, and joining me in this segment is Katie Beck, a registered nurse with the Christian County Health Department, and Pauline Williams, Director of Mental Health and Substance Abuse, also with the Christian County Health Department. Good morning to both of you. How are we?
Good morning. Good. Thanks for having us.
Well, very glad to have you guys here today and get to talk with a new face and a familiar face as well, and maybe new to me, but familiar with others out there. So we'll get to learn a little bit about the both of you maybe over the course of today. But let's start with you, Pauline, as you are fairly new to the Christian County Health Department. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and what kind of brought you to this position?
Absolutely. Good morning. Like he said, my name is Pauline. Born and raised in the Netherlands, actually. Came to the United States in 2006. I have been in the Taylorville area for about 6 years now. I am the Director of Mental Health and Substance Use. I used to work as a crisis counselor here for Christian County through Locust Street. After that, I went and worked for DCFS for a little bit. And then I was a residential substance use counselor at Gateway Foundations in Springfield. I did semi-private practice for a little while, and then the position became available at the health department. And that was a wonderful experience working with some wonderful people. So I started in March 17th, and we've got a lot of things that we're working on right now that we can't wait to share with you all.
One thing before we get to that.
Yes.
The Netherlands in 2006, you said.
Yes.
I did not realize that, Pauline. What brought you to the United States?
That would be my ex-husband. No, it's okay. He was in the service. He's currently retired military. He was in the service for 20 years. And he was stationed overseas. I stepped on his foot today. They still don't know if I did it on purpose or not. But yeah, that's kind of what brought me to the United States.
How cool. I did not realize that. So that is a really cool background and a whole lot of experience that you brought to the position.
Yes.
Of which you were slightly familiar with. Then it came open, and then all of a sudden you're here and ready to roll.
Yes.
Now let's get, if you don't mind, to the works and what we're working on. Pauline,
Absolutely.
What are some of those big things?
Well, currently, one of the biggest things that we are working on is we want to go into the schools because a lot of parents, they work, they might not have transportation. There is a lot of things that might be an obstacle in getting the children to get the mental health care that they need. So me and my coworker Peyton, we will be going into the schools. Currently, we are working closely with Morrisonville. So that's where we're going to go first, but we are planning on hitting all the schools here in the Christian County area. That's one thing that we're working on. Right now, it's very difficult for people to get the mental health services because I think HSHS, Springfield Clinic, and Memorial do not have any therapists assigned to their services at this time. So they are going to put in the referrals with us. The good part about it is you do not have to have a assigned primary care. We take all the insurances, Medicare, Medicaid. We take it all. We do it all. And then we're also working together with the Taylorville PD. So that's something that is going to be in the works as well. I know there's a lot of talk that has been about mental health and law enforcement, but we're currently working with Chief Wheeler and we're trying to work out some of the learning curves, but that is definitely something that we're excited about as well.
An easy guy to work with over there in Chief Wheeler.
Yes.
And so when it comes to the schools, is it more so because that is the easiest place to get to them, kind of as you referenced, or is it more just because we also need to be focusing on kids' mental health and awareness of it too?
Both,
Sure.
absolutely. Because we're like, and this is something that we have talked about at the health department as well. If you've got the youth, you've got the future, kind of thing. And it just kind of like it's a drawn out process. So yes, and like I said, Kip Payton and I, we love to work with the kids. I've done it before. Like I said, I used to be the crisis counselor, SAS counselor here in Christian County, and there is just a need. So if we can help the children first and kind of work on that, hopefully we can establish that foundation for later on.
Mental health services with area hospitals and things as well. With the rise in awareness,
Yes.
I know you're just in the works with that plan, but if they're bringing everything to you, that you might have a big slate on your hands.
Oh, well. Yes. It'll be okay. We've got a wonderful team ready at the public health department, and we're all working together. It's great.
And with the Taylorville Police Department, before we move over to Katie here to tell us a little bit about her side of things, is that working with the officers themselves or with we'll say criminals, I guess, in this case? What is the kind of work that we're planning to maybe do?
Okay. So really what it is like when the police department is going to get those calls for mental health purposes or substance use purposes, domestic violence, there seems to be some conflict sometimes between law enforcement and the public. And it's really to support, be a buffer between the two parties. Chief Wheeler will make sure that we stay safe. He's got that part covered, but really to make sure that everybody is stay safe in the community, and that way it's kind of like having that support on both ends. And there's, like I said, there are some details that we still have to work out, so I can't say too much, but we're both very, very excited to be working on that, and I think it's a good thing for sure.
I do too. I think you've heard more of a push for that, potentially where you have a mental health, we'll say a caseworker or somebody of the sorts come out to a crime or an investigation, and also be that kind of two-way. All right, here's the discipline, here's what's the understanding of
it. And absolutely, like this is something, and that's why I'm saying like there are some kinks that we still have to work out, because there is going to be a different level of familiarity and not confidence. What is the word I'm looking for? Kind of like the what are you comfortable with? Awareness, comfortability. Yeah. It's like, both of us are going to have a different comfortability level with the people. So we're definitely going to have to put in some training on that for sure. Because, I might feel comfortable. The officer might not feel comfortable. The officer might feel comfortable and I don't feel comfortable. So we've definitely talked about that. We're still going to go for safety first for everybody involved. But it's, like I said, again, we're excited for sure.
I'm excited to hopefully get some updates on that as well as you continue to kind of work that out down the road. Also joining us today is Katie Beck, a registered nurse with the CCHD. We'd like to talk a little bit about vaccine hesitancy. That seems to be a pretty big topic of conversation right now. What can you tell me about it? Where do you want to take me with that?
Yeah, so I will hit vaccine hesitancy, kind of why people might be hesitant on vaccines. And then I will lead into the current measles outbreak, as that kind of relates to it as well. And then we also have a local concern right here in Christian County that I'm going to touch on. So first, I would like to just point out that credible sources matter. So, we're looking at CDC, Medline Plus, anything with .gov, .edu, or .org to avoid any misinformation. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation out there on the web, and, this might be something that people are looking at, over credible sources. So I think that might, kind of help with some of that hesitancy, making sure that we're looking at the most accurate information. I want to touch on what vaccines are. So their main purpose is to teach the immune system to recognize and fight off harmful germs, whether that be viruses or bacteria. They come in many forms. One of the most, familiar forms that we know are the injections or shots. They can also come in nasal sprays, other different forms. But another thing that I like to touch on is that they all go extensive safety and effective testing before they're approved in the US. And a lot of this information that I'm speaking today is found on the CDC. Like I said, it's one of the more credible websites to look at. And then why vaccinate? So preventing a disease is always better than treating it, after the infection. So, and that's part of our job there at Christian County, to promote and to prevent before, it gets serious. So we have a few high-risk groups. So we deal with a lot of babies. We do WIC services over at the Christian County Health Department, and we have been implementing vaccines in with our appointments. We're looking up their eye cares. We're making sure that they are up to date on vaccines. We're, educating. And then, you think of teens before they go to college, they're going into big crowds. We want to make sure that they're getting the most important vaccines for that situation. An example is like meningococcal. And then elderly as well, their immune system as they get older, it becomes weakened. So we're making sure that they're getting, RSV, flu, COVID, some of the more serious viruses. There is a recommended vaccine schedule that is on the CDC website that I think is very important for people to go and look up. It targets the most important vaccines for each age group.
Okay.
And once again, you can look that up on the CDC website. It is the AAFP recommended vaccine schedule.
Okay. And Katie, we will come back around and talk a little bit more about why to not be hesitant towards the vaccines.
Yeah.
Obviously, a good amount there. And also, I think a lot of it, as you mentioned, is probably partly from social media and non-credible sources and things of that nature. And there's a lot of that out there.
Yes.
So we'll come back around. We'll be joined by Pauline Williams and Katie Beck, both with the Christian County Health Department here on the morning show, brought to you by People's Bank and Trust and Landmark of Taylorville.
Your information station, WTIM. Your information station, WTIM.
You're listening to WTIM, your information station, and our morning show brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I am joined by Pauline Williams. Pauline is the Director of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. All right, I got a nod of approval. And I'm joined by Katie Beck, registered nurse with the Christian County Health Department. We were talking with Katie about vaccine hesitancy, and we want to kind of go back to that quickly here because you've shared some information with me that's a little concerning and surprising there. What can you tell listeners as well?
Yeah, so one of my other topics was a local concern within Christian County. So IDPH has identified Christian County as one of the lowest in the state for vaccination rates. And that makes us look at, okay, is it due to vaccine hesitancy? Well, we encourage our residents to come visit the local health department to learn more and get credible science-backed information. I am there. I have my director of nursing, Diana. She is always willing to educate, as well as my coworker, Chelsea. They're amazing. Our hours are 8 to noon and 1 to 4. Like I said, we can go if you have any other questions about any of the vaccines. We're, up and ready to give you some information on those. If money is also an issue, I would like to point out that we have Vaccines for Children. It's a program if a child is 0 to 18 and doesn't have any insurance or is Medicaid eligible, we do offer free vaccines. So that's another thing I would like to point out.
Both of which are important.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you're taking away any hurdle or any possibility of somebody kind of pushing back and saying, well, it's going to cost me, it's going to this. So.
Yes. And one of the, more important vaccines right now is the MMR. As we know, there is a measles outbreak in the U.S. There's a total of 607 cases as of April 3rd. The most affected age group is 5 to 19 years old, and we're usually given the MMR vaccine at 4 to 6. So, and there's also a statistic that there are 97% of those 607 cases that are unvaccinated. So it's pretty important. Like I said, if you guys need any more information on that, stop by, walk in the health department. We are there and available to give you any education that you would need.
And Diana, I've
Yes.
met with her a few
Mhm.
times. Passionate.
She's lovely. Yes.
Passionate woman about.
We're all very eager to educate
Yes.
and promote and prevent. So,
And that's the thing. So,
Yeah.
whether it's
Mhm.
yourself, whether it's Diana, and you mentioned one other coworker,
Chelsea Davis.
Chelsea.
Yep. She's amazing as well.
Getting that credible information. And also
Absolutely.
right now, the measles outbreak is almost a kind of a,
Yeah.
hey.
Yep,
this
it's here. Yep.
So what's going on with that? Do you think, with the rates being as low as they are in Christian County, would you attribute that mainly to the vaccine hesitancy? Would you attribute that mainly to cost? What are you seeing from the community in that regard, do you think?
I think it's a mix of both.
Okay.
My coworkers and I have kind of, called around, inquired, and we're still, it's still in the works, and we've identified certain aspects of it, and we're gonna take it head on. So
Yeah.
we're excited about that.
And we're going to tackle the issues.
Yes.
See if we can't get in front of the cue ball, if we can possibly do so. Well,
Absolutely.
I know there's one other thing that we're wanting to highlight here today that is going on today.
Yes.
And take me away on that 3rd annual food workshop, excuse me.
Pauline,
Okay.
you know the hours.
Well, we just wanted to let everybody know we have the 3rd annual food workshop going on at the extension office.
U of I Extension Center.
UFI
Yes.
Extension Center. It's from 9 to 12 or this afternoon from 1 to 4. So if you are wondering about that, please visit our co-workers at the UFI Extension Center today. And we are also offering
Free well water test kits
Yes.
at the department.
And so, if I remember right, Joe will be speaking
Yes.
today as well.
Mhm.
Shout out to Joe.
Yes, he's
and-
amazing too.
Yes.
And so, really, everybody that I've met from the Christian County Health Department has been amazing. Both of you with that as well. So
Thank you.
that will do it for us. But we do have a 3rd annual food workshop today that is running currently. We're almost about to run. Is running. My goodness.
It's running. Yes.
And this afternoon. So maybe get over there as soon as possible to the Christian County Extension Office for the U of I. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
WTIM.